your body weight is absorbed in your spine each time your foot hits the pavement or hits the ground as you're running. That's a lot of pressure on those feet and ankles. And how many of you work into your feet and ankles after your runs or before your runs or during training season? Probably not too many, which is why you're here, right? So today we're going to talk to you a little bit about why working into the feet and ankles are so important for running, but actually give you the tangible things, tangible yoga things that you can be doing and should be doing to really work into all those little nooks and crannies. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is, if you can, sit onto your feet. So similar to how I'm sitting, it's called the hero's pose, and your heels are right underneath of your glutes. Now, if this is a new pose to you, there's a pretty darn good chance that it is not going to be comfortable. So, a few options. Option one is to come off a little bit, especially if the tops of your feet are feeling really just sore and tight. So you can kind of come off so you're not putting so much weight on there, option one. Option two is that actually you can put a big pillow or a blanket right here, so when you do sit down, you're not sitting down all the way. And then the third thing is to roll a blanket or a towel and put that right underneath of your ankles there. And that'll kind of give you a little bit of support. So just kind of breathing in and breathing out. Closing your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or just softly close your eyes, keeping your gaze at the front edge of your mat. And along with working into the feet and ankles, in yoga we work into the breath. And, you know, unlike training with speed workouts or hill workouts, by doing yoga more regularly, we can actually increase our lung capacity. And if we can increase our lung capacity, we can run a little farther, run a little faster. And there's a duck. Probably not where you are, but where I am there's ducks, and so they might make an appearance. But do your best to, whatever distractions, whatever you hear, whatever you see, tune that out and begin to focus a little bit more on your breath. In through the nose and out through the nose. Now we're holding this position for a little while so we can start to work into some of that fascia, into that connective tissue. If this at any point becomes too much, simply come into a tabletop again so you're not as much, the ducks are fighting, no big deal. So you're not putting on as much weight there. Take another deep breath in, all the way from the base of your spine. And then big breath out. Beautiful. Come up onto hands and knees. Hands and wrists are right underneath shoulders. And then walk your knees back just a little bit so knees are underneath your hips. And then from here, you're going to begin to tuck your toes and just sort of rock side to side, forwards and back. And then bring your knees together to touch, bringing the inside edges of your feet together. And then have a seat back onto your feet. So this is thunderbolt, toes curled under. Reach back and work on spreading out all of your toes. Now this is going to be intense. So again, same options as before. Don't come back all the way so you're not putting on all that weight. Or if it does feel nice for some crazy reason and you want a little bit more of a stretch, begin to press your knees down and forward towards the top edge of your mat. And that's going to deepen the stretch in between your feet and the sort of the arch of that foot. So this is a really great pose if you have had, definitely there's going to be videos specifically for plantar fasciitis, and so check the link below to see if it is there, and if it's not, this is a great pose for that. So this is something that you can do all the time. It's not, again, comfortable, but it's accessible. Notice as you linger here a little while what happens to the quality of your breath. Smooth breath in. Long breath out. Very nice. And then come forward again into that tabletop. And the feet are going to feel a little sticky when you come out. So come out slowly and then just kind of shake your feet around, shake those quads around, work into that space. Now we're going to come into calf smashing, which is exactly as it sounds. So keep your left leg as it is, so your left shin is parallel to the mat. Lift your right leg up, point your toes, and then flex your foot. So we're going to just do a little bit of ankle mobility. The beautiful thing about yoga is that it's not only working flexibility and strength, but it works into mobility of the joints, which helps your hips take longer strides. And then also when it comes to your ankle joint, if you, let's say, hit a tree branch the wrong way or a tree root, this kind of helps so you don't roll your ankle so much, because that ankle has mobility. It doesn't just like snap and crackle and pop. And then do some circles in one direction and the other. Now as your leg is lifted, think about firing right at the connection point where your glutes and your hamstrings meet. Many times, oftentimes, runners have very tight glutes, and so this actually helps to fire those glutes up and strengthen them a bit. Good. And now from here, take that right leg and place the right shin on top of the left shin. So to start, keep your knees really close together, and then begin to have a seat back towards your heels. Now this is going to be intense, and the goal of calf smashing is to massage out the calf and a lot of those little muscles and tendons in there. So I cannot sit back all the way today because it's pretty intense, and the interesting thing is that your body always wants to go to where it's least intense. So you may find that you can sit there, but then try working around that right leg, like just kind of almost like a violin, going back and forth as if you're a fiddle on a violin. Do that similar action on your calf, and I guarantee you it's going to be significantly more intense. You can notice the quality of your breath. Very nice. And then we're going to switch sides. So tabletop, left leg goes back, point and flex, just kind of getting into that ankle a little bit more, that joint. And as you're doing this, be sure that your belly is not sagging, so draw your belly button in, press your tailbone down, and again, fire right at that glute and hamstring connection. And even if you have no idea what that feels like, do your best. These ducks are freaking me out. They're moving everywhere. Who knew they could be so active? Work into circles, and then left knee, squish it right behind the right, and have a seat back on your calves. Now, I teach runners, I have been teaching runners for years and years now, and this is probably one of the more, delicate positions to be in. So again, go lightly and go gently. There's lots of variations to this, which I talk about in other videos, but for this one, we're going right into the nuts and bolts, right into the meat, and into that good stuff. At least I think it's good stuff. Breathe deeply as you're sort of massaging back and forth. And the reason that we work into the calves, even though that's not directly, it's not your feet, it's not your ankles, is because if your feet are really tight, that moves upwards into your calves are really tight. And I find that for a lot of runners, It's easier for us to stretch our hamstrings and our quads and our hips, but very infrequently do we actually get into some of these smaller muscles that actually take some of the bigger impact, like the feet and ankles and even the calf. Good. So coming on up, and then again, work it out, wiggle it out side to side. So from here, you're going to come into a standing position. Now, part of working into the feet and ankles is working into balance. Balance is something that I find just about every runner can benefit from. So you're going to look down at your feet, which is really important. Body awareness is incredibly important for running, knowing where your body is in space, whether it's in a race or training. And so think about spreading your right toes out as far as you possibly can, in each individually. And then press through the four corners of your feet. The four corners are the big toe ball mount, the base of the pinky toe, and then the two outer corners of your heel. So press through that, and then engage your quad, press your tailbone down, and press your glutes down, but engaging them about halfway or so. Begin to lift your left leg up. Now, this could be enough, especially if it's really windy for you today and you're just wobbling all over the place. This could be enough. But what this is starting to do is fire all those little stabilizing muscles that are so crucial for running. And plus it actually activates some of those visceral core muscles that are important for stabilizing and keeping you upright as you're running. So if that's starting to feel good, reach down, catch your left ankle, and place the sole of your left foot inside of your right thigh, coming into tree pose or vrikshasana. Big toe places down, press your tailbone down, work your left knee out, move your ribs back, lift your chest, stretch your spine. More doable, hands stay at heart center. More difficult, begin to reach your arms overhead. At any point, feel free to stay at where you're at. That's the thing about competitive runners, is that we like to always go to that next level because we think more is better. That's not always the case. You can get maybe more benefit out of staying here today. If you come out, totally okay. Just pop back in. Take 3 more quality breaths. Very nice. And come out. Kind of work that standing ankle probably is feeling all those stabilizing muscles engage. So just kind of work that out a little bit. Same thing on the opposite side. Spread your left toes wide, press down to the 4 corners of your foot. Engage your leg, pulling your kneecap up, quad is engaged. And then stay here, just lifting that leg for a little bit. And this, if you keep doing little toe taps, totally fine. That is where you're starting, and that's where you're staying, and that is a beautiful place. Enjoy it. Or if you feel like your balance is a little bit more on point today, coming into tree pose on the opposite side. So the important thing here is that your foot is not pressing into your knee. Your knee goes forward and back, not side to side. So be sure that your foot is above or below your knee, and that your opposite knee points straight out. Tailbone is down, lift your chest, stretch your spine. Again, hands stay at heart center or extend overhead. More doable, you keep your gaze on the ground or straight ahead in front of you. More difficult is you actually look up, or if you really, really want to challenge your balance, or I know some of you do out there, you can actually try to close your eyes. Muy difícil. That Spanish was not right, I apologize, but you get the point. Shake it out. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale, flutter your lips. One more time. Very nice. And if you're not familiar with my classes, we do that a lot because we hold so much tension in our jaw that just doesn't serve us. So that's a good way of releasing it and letting it go. Okie dokie. So from here, we're going to come into a little bit of some toe stretch and a little bit of a hip stretch. Come on to your glutes. Have a nice little seat. I'm actually going to face this way. That way I can see what the ducks are doing. Okay, so pull the flesh away from your sits bones, which is a fancy way of just saying move your ass out of the way. Hug your left knee in towards your chest, and then cross your left ankle on top of your right thigh. Your left foot flex your foot, flare your toes. So flexing your foot means push your heel away, and same thing with that right leg. Flex your foot, the quad is engaged, and that way you're not digging your foot into that quad. So from here, we're gonna get into some toe spreading. So work your right hand in between your left toes. This sounds kind of weird, and it feels just as weird, especially if you're not used to doing it. And then once you get your fingers into your toes, you're just gonna kind of massage in and around. And this is also at the same time getting into this hip area of that left side. And, oh hey Mr. Duck, and stretching into that left, or that right hamstring. I'm telling you, these ducks are becoming very distracting. Okie dokie. I need to change positions here pretty soon. So, back to yoga. Keep breathing. That's the thing about yoga, you gotta take it lightly. I think especially for runners, we take ourselves way too seriously. Oh gosh, way too seriously sometimes. And you just gotta roll with life because you never know what's gonna happen. Okay, so you may notice that if you're not used to doing this, that it's actually really difficult maybe to even get your fingers into your toes, but the more often you do this, the easier it becomes. And this actually, it's kind of like half massage, half stretching into the fascia and connective tissue, and it's just really, really therapeutic. It's also really great for stabilizing and setting up that foundation for running. And then working it into the other side. So again, flex both of your feet and flare your toes to spread them as wide as you can. And so if you see my foot, I'm just working all of my fingers in. Now for me, my right side is my dominant side, which means that it's tighter from my toes to my legs to my hips to my shoulders. And so maybe you find that too, that your dominant side is tighter all the way around. And so you may have to just kind of massage into that a little bit more. This is also what I like to call TV yoga. So if you are into TV yoga, I have a video for that and I'll put the link below. It's TV yoga for runners. But this is definitely part of that because it's literally something that you can do at any time. The tricky part is that with yoga, we want to focus on breath, right? Because breath is the number one thing. And we also want to focus on our body awareness. So when I'm doing this, I really like to kind of focus on where am I feeling sensation, what sort of sensation am I feeling, and how does that sensation change? And becoming more in tune with your body helps you become a better runner. Smooth breath in. And smooth breath out. The other thing is that, working into our feet it's a very grounding sensation from an energetic standpoint. And the reason that is so important is because when we're running, we're constantly moving, right? So it's constantly stimulating that sympathetic nervous system. Basically, when it comes to fight or flight, you are flying, you are running out. So this kind of brings you back down into sort of that safe zone, if you will, and just a reminder that hey, it's okay to chill out. But again, if this is new to you or newer or does not come naturally to you, which is where I fall, I've been doing yoga for a really long time, and I still just feel like being still is a challenge. So when I do stuff like this, I'm like, oh hey, I'm chilling out, I'm being still, and it's kind of not so true, but it does help for sure. So if you have troubles grounding or just feeling at ease, working into the feet can be helpful. Okay, I'm not sure if that was same side. equal time, but we're gonna go with it. And then from there, come onto your back. Hug your knees in. Oh, and just kind of rock side to side. Work into getting those ankles, making circles. And then from here, getting into the hips one more time. If it feels good, bring the soles of your feet together and allow the knees to fall out wide. If this is not feeling good to you in your body, plant your feet and then plant your feet wider than your hips and allow your knees to fall in towards each other. Can you take your deepest breath yet? Fill up the lung capacity, but do it to the point where you're not overexerting yourself. So fill up, feel that fullness. Hold at the top. And then big exhale from your belly, let it out. If you want to work on endurance, working on your lung capacity is of huge benefit. Take a few moments and enjoy the quality of your breath. And whenever you're ready, whether that's now or if it's later, feel free to chill here for as long as you need. But when you're ready, roll over to one side, press yourself up into a seat. I sincerely thank each and every one of you for joining me in practicing today, in stabilizing that foundation, working into the feet and ankles, which is so very important for runners. Come back to this practice as often as you need, and feel free to sort of add in modifications or extra poses that you find are helpful. Check out my next video and be sure to subscribe and check a new video about yoga and nutrition, wellness every week. And until next time, see you soon.